Hey everybody, see you with season 7, episode 7, here we go. Thanks for listening in. I'm almost to my goal. I wanted to make 10, and sort of just get to that magic number, before I start posting up on, at least applying for Spotify or wherever else, so... Number 7 here. I think I've only made one last week and the one week before, so I'm going to shoot for 2 this week. That's my goal, minimum. I might do an extra one of 3. Wow, we'd get to 10 real fast, actually. So, but I appreciate you guys being here, and those listening, those following, and appreciate everything. Hope you guys' weeks and weekends been going good. We're middle of July here. Raining nonstop, just constantly raining. So that's a lot of fun. We went from being sort of super sunny to just straight rain. I mean, this weekend we're supposed to get up into the 90s or 80s or something like that. All of a sudden it goes from pouring down rain to sunshine, like on a flip of a switch. Hope your workout plan, if you're doing that, if you're staying active out there, is going well. I've been doing mine and, keeping my body moving and being active, at least for the minimum. I've been following my mobile workout plan and daily workout routine, for the most part. And I mix it up a little bit. I get to do a little of MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu on Thursdays, for a class that I do. And I find that to be a lot of fun. Kind of a nice break from the normal routine, but at least get 2 hours out of that and get to work on my skills and my game, which I find a lot of fun. And honestly, I know a lot of people find yoga and other sort of relaxing things as like their centering point, but man, jiu-jitsu, boxing, just sort of combat training is like so peaceful and relaxing for me, and it's just sort of like a centering part. It's so weird to describe that's like a centering peaceful portion, because it's so backwards than that the normal people, I guess, would do. Many people getting to work out and feeling good about themselves and go from there. I mean, I get home from a workout, my body is sore, take a shower, and it's just so nice and peaceful and relaxing afterwards, to sort of think about back what I did that day, how I could have done things better, in an assortment of things that I find a lot of fun. But yeah. What do you find peaceful out there? What do you do that you find peaceful, that brings you peace? I mean, are you doing yoga? Do you go for a run? You just jammed music? Let me know. Let's see. We got a crazy week. The new sort of Call of Duty Modern Warfare season dropped this week, and they had some errors on that. The PlayStation was revealed. Twitch did a massive, or I wouldn't say Twitch. Corporations had a massive DMCA strike on Twitch, which, if you don't know what a DMCA is, it's a digital media. I can pull up the actual Digital Millennium Copyright Act. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act is a 1998 United States copyright law that implements 2 1996 treaties of the World Intellectual Property Organization. It criminalizes production and dissemination of technology, devices, or services intended to circumvent measures that control access to copyrighted works. I hope you guys are still here, because that was really boring. But essentially, streamers who stream, they play copyrighted music, music from their favorite bands or whatever, and you can't do that unless you have permission, since you're making like content for them. Or I think if you're making money from them, then you can't. If you're like an unpartnered, like people can't donate to you, like if you're monetized on the platform and you can make money from the stream, and then you're playing that money over the top of it, you can get a strike, and I think it's 3 strike policy on Twitch, and then all of your work can be gone. And the DMCA strikes actually, like, they just went for, what, 0 from, like, couple weeks ago to almost 5. People were saying 5-10 years ago they were getting some of their clips taken away, which is just insane to think about. That, like, someone, you get a copyright strike from almost 7 years ago on one of your Twitch. Someone clipped a thing from like 7 years ago, and it's taken down, and it counts as a strike against you. So, and I mean, you could have definitely been at a different point or a different place back then. A lot of people know about it, and a lot of people play copyright-free music, or make sure that their music is solely produced, or there are a lot of Twitch streamer friendly copyright music channels out there, and I saw a few artists like at Twitch this week, at Twitch on Twitter, and we're in like say that any streamer has the ability to play their music at free will. So it's kind of crazy because I've heard of stories. I think it was the Casting Crows. I forgot the name of the band, but they were streaming. Panic at the Disco lead singer. I forgot his name. I can Google it right now. Who is it? Brendan Urie? I think it's Brendan Urie. It is Brendan Urie. Yes, it is. But he was. He streams live on Twitch, and he streams like his band's music, and he's gotten copyright or DMCA strikes against him playing his own music. So that's sort of how these copyright claims and all these copyright companies make whoever's playing the music, take it down right now, and they don't look at who's doing it or who's playing it or whatever. They just do a strike, and that's how it goes. So it kind of brings up this weird sort of thing. I mean, we're in like this quarantine COVID thing, sort of thing. I mean, the places are opening back up in air quotes, but it's like, and like monetarily and fiscally, like things are just struggling for a lot of companies. Not struggling, honestly, but like just in not meeting their budget standards is how I would say it. Everybody sets a budget back in like October, November, December, depending on the company's fiscal year, but mainly it's, and here's this COVID thing and people aren't buying stuff, I mean, most people, a lot of people are like, I wouldn't say struggling, but it's just a weird sort of time where it's like, it's just an odd time, and there's all these companies that are just all of a sudden just do a bunch of DMCA strikes. I mean, they got to make their money somewhere, so, I mean, so essentially, they would get the money from it. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird coincidence that they would do their DMCA strikes now, all of a sudden, just ranging from like the last go back 10 years and get this thing, and yeah, it sort of brings up this weird thing that it says like these companies are struggling and they just want to make money, and all of a sudden it's like, let's DMCA strike all of YouTube, and I mean, YouTube's pretty heavily restricted, honestly, and Twitch is not, because the companies have to go through Twitch to do the DMCA strikes, and then Twitch assesses it from there, whereas like YouTube, they have a little bit more of a partnership there. But that's just sort of crazy to think about that that's a thing. But yeah, I will link the article. Kotaku did a very good write-up of it. I mean, you shouldn't be playing copyrighted music. Everybody kind of knows, but I mean, the streamer's been playing it, and it's a thing, and I mean, it's sort of free advertising and something that happened. I don't know what the solution is. I mean, definitely want to get those bands credit and for entertaining or just playing as background music, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm not going to Twitch to listen to to hear my streamer all of a sudden play this random song that I enjoy. Like, oh, that's my favorite song. Like, it might be my favorite song, but I'm not going there specifically to hope he or she plays that song. And it's just a weird sort of middle space, gray area. But a lot of Twitch streamers got channel strikes against them, which scares them. Imagine you have 7 years or however many years of work on Twitch, and all of a sudden your stuff is from like years ago is getting strike, and then all of a sudden, after 3 strikes, you are that channel is permanently banned, and you can never find it again. So, you're taking people's livelihood that they've built up over time, and they have to essentially get a new channel, create a new channel, and then if hopefully their followers are following them on YouTube or wherever their other social media channels are, and hope that they can gain it back. But that's just crazy and unfathomable to think about. Going on next, PlayStation reveal was gone. Like, going into some more gaming news, the PlayStation reveal came out. They released a bunch of new games. The memes on the PlayStation design were hilarious. People had a lot of good memes for that, saying it looked like the Burj Khalifa, which is like the tallest tower in Abu Dhabi, which is, it was a lot of fun. It looks like it can only stand up. I think there was a picture of it laying down, but it just looks super awkward, sort of laying down. But that was good. As far as the tech specs, versing Xbox and PlayStation, a lot of them are same. There's a slightly few differences. Main difference only being sort of the design of the actual console. So Xbox is more of like I would say it's an Alexa. It looks like an Alexa, but a cubed Alexa. So it's like a big old tall square rectangle. But yeah, I think they announced a few games and some Resident Evil 8, some remakes of some old games, new Ratchet and Clank game. They announced a Spider-Man game, Spider-Man Miles Morales, who is, different Spider-Man. People were confused on that because it just kind of looked like it was the same Spider-Man, but it looked like it was maybe an expansion, but you got to play as a different character. And then reports came out after that it was its own standalone game, but it took part in the same universe. If you know anything about the Spider-Verse, that's a thing. That's some more going into comic book lore right there for you. But people were sort of confused on that reveal, but it was confirmed that it's its own sort of standalone game, and it is its own game. It is not a sequel, but it's its own. They just released, a year or two ago, the Spider-Man game, and now they released Spider-Man. It looks like the same engine, but Miles Morales. So that's fun. The new Modern Warfare season came out. They had an issue with that. There was the whole download was only 44 gigabytes, but there was a visual error or some sort of error that was asking to double it on both PlayStation and Xbox consoles, and you went from a 44 gigabyte update on Xbox to an 84 gigabyte update, which is that's huge. That's a massive download, and that takes 3 days to download if you don't have the best download internet available. So that was sort of frustrating for people, but it really wasn't actually an 84. It was only 44 gigs. And man, I don't know why the Call of Duty did it that way, but they split their game into 3 parts. They have the campaign, they have Warzone, which is their battle royale, and they have their Spec Ops, which is you versus the computer and AI challenges and whatnot. But they have it split into 3 different parts, and each one's 20 to 30 gigabytes each. And so when there was a new update and they added stuff to it, they essentially were updating the game, so you uninstalled the game, or how the update worked was it pretty much uninstalled it and then reinstalled the game. So every time you're reinstalling, but people thought that they were running out of space. Imagine each patch is 40 gigabytes. After a time, you'd almost be at 1,000 plus 500 gigabytes. Especially being in Season 4, it would just be insane. But a lot of people don't understand that, and they see that it's just like these massive downloads on downloads and downloads. I had to go search out this information somewhere else, or at least on Reddit, of course, and on a few new video game news sites. But it was very confusing. In this latest patch, because it was such huge, they actually combined all of the game into one. So that'll be nice. And the technical Season 4 update was only 4 gigabytes. So, but since they finally grouped everything together, it was a much larger update. So we'll see how, the next update that Call of Duty has, if they truly stuck to their guns, and if it's going to be an actual 4 gigabyte update, or if it'll be another 40 gigabyte update. Big news sort of hit last week. Star Wars Squadron game came out. Or was announced. The first trailer was announced today, or at least shown today. The game is made by EA. If you don't know, EA is sort of known for their sort of how do you describe their microtransactions, but they're sort of preying evil. Microtransactions. They're just a very microtransaction heavy company, especially with a lot of their sports games. If you've ever played Madden, like the Ultimate Teams, UFC is on that. FIFA is a big one. I mean, Madden and FIFA are sort of the two biggest ones on there that are just like these underlying microtransactions to have a chance. You essentially buy currency to get a chance at something else. And of course, you want the best gear in the game, or the best characters, or whatever, and it's just these nightmare things. And they released Battlefront 2 probably 2-3 years ago. I mean, it was a fun game, and Star Wars Battlefront has always been a fun game, but they released it with heavy layer of microtransactions. I mean, there was gameplay, and then there's microtransactions, and there were game-breaking microtransactions, honestly. So you could essentially buy a bunch of microtransactions to get a chance at getting a chance. You get a bunch of duplicates in there, and you might get better stuff for a character, but the character that you're leveling up, maybe rewards never drop for that, and only drops for other characters you're maybe not specifically leveling up or doing that. And so you get all of these sort of high-end cards for characters who, you now have to go in and level up, which was super, super frustrating. And so EA took a lot of criticism over that, and that was a nightmare. They did end up having to redo all of that. There's a huge story if you want to look it up. There's probably YouTube videos about the whole story. It's just insane, and made a lot of changes, especially law-wise, about microtransactions and loot boxes in video games. So that kind of sort of stemmed from there. EA did make a Fallen Jedi Order. That was a single-player game, and with no microtransactions, and was a very fun game. And that was sort of the green light to okay, EA can handle Battlefront, or the Star Wars title, essentially. And now they've come out with a Star Wars Squadron, which is a team of TIE fighters and a team of X-Wings, or whatever iconic planes that you can fly around. There is going to be single player campaign, multiplayer. EA has stated specifically that there's going to be no microtransactions, and on release it will be a fully cross-playable game. If you don't know what cross-play is, you can play on PlayStation, you can play on PC, and you can play on Xbox at free will. So if I wanted to join my buddy on PlayStation, I could do it immediately. No workarounds or anything like that. I mean, maybe a few workarounds depending, but that is really nice. Crossplay, always a plus one for me. So they came out with an article, and EA said it will be heavily customizable, and the cosmetics will be only earned through gameplay exclusively. And then another one, what was the other news update they said? Oh yeah, crossplay. I already covered that, so that is good to go there. But yeah, let's get into some some of our topics today, especially ones that I wanted to cover. One specifically was the digital. We were talking about it in our group chat today with our guys, but digital purchases being locked behind walls or whatever, or vaulted, sort of a thing that happens and isn't necessarily covered a lot of time. But let's say you bought something online, or you bought a specific thing, and you paid, like, let's say you bought a car, and it's a car. It's your car. You get everything in it. You got everything, and then all of a sudden, the companies or the owners of the car, like Toyota, like reaches out and says, like, hey, I know you like your seat belts or your seats or whatever. Man, what's a good analogy? I don't have one. Oh, you like that steering wheel, that nice round one? Well, I'm sorry, but as of today, we're going to a new design change, and you can only use a triangle one, and the circle one, we're going to take that one away. But we're not going to like fully take it away. We're just going to kind of sort of lock it behind. But you need to use the triangle one in the meantime, because that's what we want you to use, because we think it's going to be a better one. But the circular one will be locked later, and it might be available later. But this is the one that we want you to use now. Destiny just did this with some games. They're going to be doing it. It's always been sort of a thing or predatory thing, especially with digital purchases and digital games. If you know anything about Destiny, they're essentially taking away a lot of their beginner planets, things that I've purchased Destiny 2 when it first came out, thinking it was going to be a much better game than D1. I was mistaken. It was not what I thought it would be, at least. It wasn't my cup of tea, so I didn't agree with some of the changes that they made and where they went. But I mean, there's a whole story of like taking you through all these different planets. And as of the recent update, they're going to be taking those starter planets away, which is confusing. So like, how do beginner players who maybe who haven't played the game, all of a sudden, try to play that game? Because Destiny and Activision is no longer there, actually, has decided to lock those planets away, and they will be released later, possibly. I mean, it's a possible, like, they always want to leave the possibility of leaving it there. But I mean, content that I have paid my money for, I mean, maybe the game makes a revival and it gets way better, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like, this is a great game. And now it's just like, oh, look at all this content that I paid for. It's now locked? Like, that's just BS. Like, that's rough. That shouldn't be a thing to occur, especially with indie games. It just sets a dangerous precedent. They say that they need to lock it away for digital space and disk space. So, I mean, just make the game bigger. I mean, if people are into your game and love your game, it's going to take space. It's part of being on console. It's part of the whole thing. I mean, I played MMORPGs. Star Wars is the same thing. I can still go back and play Star Wars MMORPG, and it's still like the for beginner planets there, and all of that content is still there. Maybe it's a little changed and a little different looking, but it's still there, and I can still go access that if I want to. Whereas all of a sudden, your content's missing. Just content that you paid your money for is just all of a sudden missing. Like, hey, we're taking that away. I just don't think that that's right. I think it just sets a bad precedent for digital games and for digital content like that. A story that sort of I think of that wasn't, I don't think a lot of things was covered. It was what Xbox had, like a workout program. I think the Xbox 360 before the Xbox One was announced, but the Xbox 360 had, part of their community partnership was having like this. There was these workout programs, like it was like Xbox Workout or Microsoft Workout. I can't remember the name. I could definitely look it up and be more provide the article possibly. But a lot of people, people use that. People use their Xboxes for sort of their entertainment to their TV. I can access YouTube on there. I can access Netflix. I can just use it. I don't need actual TV to access all of that stuff. I can just use my Xbox and have my TV and just play anything I need to, which is really, really nice. But Xbox and Microsoft had a specific link for those specific things. And one of the things was the workout thing, and people, you could buy different workouts on there and different things. And then after a certain time, once the Microsoft Xbox One was announced, they just started all of a sudden taking it away. And all of a sudden, people had paid, $10, $5, however many dollars here and there, and it was just all of a sudden just disappearing, just being gone. No communication. People were reaching out to Microsoft and Xbox at the time with no response back, or like, hey, all sales are final, sort of thing, but this program is being discontinued. It's a bad precedent. I do play an Xbox, and that was unfortunate. I wasn't part of that community, but it just sets a dangerous precedent for those companies taking digital stuff away. And it's sort of been why buying digitally is really tough, because you never know, like, hey, the company, I just buy like a digital game, and then that company's like, we're going to discontinue support for it, and we're going to take it away. And it's like, well, I paid like $60 for that game, or I paid this and this price for this game, and then it's just going to be not playable anymore? What? Like, I know the game will eventually go away. I'll stop playing it. But if I need to play it back in, if I should have the ability to play it back in. And I think that's sort of the still clutch, or the still weight of not purchasing digitally that's really tough, and especially just having a physical copy. Because if I have a physical copy of the game, I can just pop that right into my Xbox and play the game and load it up, because it's not waiting on a digital online availability for the game to be alive. So the game there might be some live issues or whatever, but the ability to have the disc in my hand and be able to play the game is a really big factor. So what do you think? Digital purchases, content, IRL purchases, or in real life purchases, and having that physical game copy? I'm for both. I like digital purchases. They're really nice, but I understand the physical purchases as well, and having that. I just don't think that content should just be all of a sudden locked behind a wall or taken away. Fortnite does it with their vaulting, but I didn't really play for Fortnite. It's a free game that you can download. You can buy microtransactions for your cosmetics, but those cosmetics are still available to you, and you can still play with them. But yeah, come on. Let's make better decisions. Let's be better stewards of our content and not lock it away. Boom. The next thing I really wanted to cover is sports. I named it sports, of course, because I sort of always cover sports at the end. Sports is a big thing, and by sports, there really hasn't been. Basketball's still at its standstill right now for the most part. MLB's in sort of the same. NASCAR is back, so a lot of cars have been racing. I think golf has been back in a sort of small capacity, but the biggest one has been the UFC, which is funny to me because, like, they have the weigh-ins the day before the fight, and the weigh-ins, all the fighters have to wear like an actual mask and everything like that. So when they have these face-offs, they have to wear like their official like medical masks and be standing in front of each other. But then the next day they're like literally punching each other in the face and going to combat and laying on top of me, and they're not wearing masks. So it's this super funny dichotomy of like one day we have to be safe, the next day, it's full combat. So that's always been fun. But over the weekend we had the UFC on ESPN. It's the UFC. They've been fighting at their Apex UFC Center, which is a smaller octagon. It was headlined by Cynthia Calvillo and Jessica Ai. So the main event, Andre Fili won. These are sort of the highlights. He won by split decision. Nobody really. Marvin. There's 4 decisions and 2 submissions, 2 first-round decisions. So congrats to those people. Congrats to Andre Fili. Cynthia Calvillo defeated Jessica Ai. Jessica Ai, I don't know how to say it. She doesn't like haters or people who are critical of her, and she has been critical of others in the past. and she missed weight. I think this is her second or third time missing weight. I think it was her second time, but she missed by like a quarter of a pound. And I mean, you just can't miss weight, especially if you're going to be a contender. It just sort of nulls your victory if you win. I mean, maybe not so much, but yeah, that was rough. She missed her weight. Cynthia made her weight. Fortunately, Cynthia won the fight by unanimous decision. And so I lost the fight, but that was really tough. The whole weight loss and weight not making weight issue is really tough. I mean, the co-main and main event, some of the fighters did miss weight, so it's tough making weight. But I mean, when you sign a contract and that's like your job is to make weight, or to meet a certain thing, like you have to make weight. I mean, I've never had to make weight, so I can't really tell from experience. I mean, it looks absolutely terrible. I mean, imagine being, just cutting 10 pounds within like 3 days. Like, oh, hey, you're going to eat like 2 bites of pineapple and this spinach leaf for the next, that's going to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 3 days. And you're going to drink gallons upon gallons of water and then sit in Epsom bath. So, and sweat tremendously. So, I mean, that's what I see on their videos, and I don't know exactly how it works, but one can imagine that that's going to be a little rough. And she missed weight. She's critical of people in the past, which is rough, and Reddit always likes to bring that past history up. She did have a post like the day before or the day of weigh-ins, that she was not going to miss weight, and then she missed weight, which is a little oof. Then there was accusations after the fight that she had cheated and held on to the towel to sort of raise herself up off the scale to make herself lighter, and she still missed weight, which is a little rough. If you don't know, I think Daniel Cormier did that a while ago. He was holding on to it's an infamous picture. If you just Google like Daniel Cormier holding on to a towel, it'll pop up. So, but yeah, that was a hard fight. Glad Cynthia won. Congrats to her. Next up this weekend, we have another UFC on ESPN event. Curtis Blades versus Alexander Volkov. Let's see the undercard. We have Roxanne McDougherty, who's fighting. She's a really good fighter. Tisha Torres is on the undercard as well. She's a top contender. She's fought for the title before. Roxanne McDougherty's also fought for the title at flyweight. Clay Guida is on there versus Bobby Green at the lightweight. And then back to the main card, you got Jim Miller. He's just a super veteran versus Roosevelt Roberts. Jim Miller's older. He's up there. He's a definitely veteran fighter up there. But I hope he can pull out the victory here. And then you have Lyman Good and Bilal Muhammad. Gonna skip that. And Raquel Pennington versus Marion Renault. Raquel Pennington has fought for a title in the past, and Marion has been up there. Both great fighters. Raquel is, I think, ranked up there. I think she's number 3, and Marion is number 8 or 9. But I could be mistaken. Then in the co-main event, you have Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos. Both are great fighters. And then for the heavyweight main card, you have Curtis Blades, who is a very, very, very good fighter. He is number 3 in the heavyweight rankings. And then you have Alexander Volkov, which he is number 7 in the rankings. Curtis Blades is currently on a 3-fight win streak, beating Justice Willis, Shamil Abdurrahimov. I butchered that for sure. And then most recently, TKO Junior Santos. His last loss was against Ngannou almost 2 years ago in 2018. So, and then you have Alexander Volkov. He is also on a 1-fight win streak, beating Greg Hardy again by unanimous decision. He is, though, in his last 8 fights, he is 7-1. He lost to Derek Lewis via KO. At the end of the 3rd round, he was dominating him for, I would say, for the full 3, they if you don't know what a round is, it's 5 minutes long, and they do for 3 rounds. And so he dominated his opponent for essentially 3 full rounds plus 4 minutes, and then he got knocked out in like the last couple seconds. It would by like just a super haymaker. Crazy comeback, but he lost. But yeah, this should be a great fighter. Volkov is super technical and a very good fighter. Curtis Blades is a very athletic fighter. He's super fast. He's a heavyweight, but he's so fast and has really grown his skills. So if I can get my hot take on that, I think Curtis Blades takes this fight. I think he's just the more, I wouldn't say technical, but he's the more athletic, and he's just more powerful, and he has a very good fighting IQ. Alexander Volkov has a tremendous fight IQ and is really technical, but I think that he also lacks pulling the gun at times where he should, where I think Curtis Blades sort of capitalizes on that. Josh Emmett, really strong fighter, really good fighter, really technical fighter. I think he takes the co-main event. Raquel Pennington and Marion, I take Raquel. Lyman and Bilal, I take Bilal in that. And Jim Miller versus Roosevelt, I want Jim Miller to take that fight. So that's sort of my hot take on this upcoming card. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Who are you gonna take? Those are who I want. Yeah, covered some good news stories this week in this episode. I mean, episode 7 talked a lot about Twitch and the DMCA strikes that they have, microtransactions by EA and all of their stuff. Digital content, I mean, sort of EA microtransactions, and then the digital content being locked behind is just a nightmare, it just gets rough. Some tough topics, some tough controversial topics that are, I can see both sides. I can see the fuller sides and the bad sides. UFC events, both good. Missing weight, bad for sure. But congrats to those fighters who won. And yeah, man, this is episode 7. I think we were past here. We're slamming past 30 minutes. So usually I try to keep these episodes at 30. So I hope you guys' weeks is going good. Hope everything is going good. Hopefully I cover some topics that inspire some thought. I hope you guys' workouts are going good and you're sticking to your active plan if you have one. If you don't, you should definitely think about it. Definitely keeping active and keeping out there. But yeah, I hope you guys had a good week. I hope you guys have a good week up ahead, actually, since it's only Monday. This episode will probably be up tomorrow morning, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Hopefully the upload speed stays nice. But hope you guys have a good day. Hope you guys have a great week, and hopefully you stay nice and cool for this upcoming weekend as well. I will see you guys later this week. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.